live in the dungeon. This is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Mick Strawn.
When the puppet cast of a 1990s children TV show began to get murdered.
No, it was an 80s show. It had to be an 80s show because everybody was older.
Well, they said 90s. They said the 90s hit of the blah, blah, blah.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is in recent times, 2000.
So we'll say...
I don't know
when the
what's
puppet
going on
cast of a 1980s or 1990s, depending on what happens, I guess.
Right.
TV show begin to get murdered one by one. A disgraced LAPD detective turned private eye puppet takes on the case. And I like how they use primary colors because the main character is blue. I like that.
Well, I love the faded blue.
Yes.
Dirty
blue.
Well,
very dirty blue.
He was very dirty blue, but I love that his brother had been,
bleached
and was, trying to be less
blue,
Muppet-like.
And he had a purple thing going on that wasn't purple, really.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Well, I guess it was purple.
Yeah. So, if you are lacking puppet sex, if you haven't seen enough puppet sex,
or if you saw a bad print of the Feebles and you couldn't see what was happening,
now you can get an idea. Actually, you know what? This film actually kind of outdid the Feebles in a couple of different places.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
By being a better movie overall?
Yeah, well, that's true.
I mean, this actually had what the Feebles had. It was a boring script, and it was just like an average, if you want to watch a bad detective movie,
right?
This is it.
Right. Oh, the detective movie had nothing to do with it.
Right.
It literally, it was so much a second thought to the running gags that were going on.
Right.
And also it was a weird thing because it was a perfect character study of the male lead.
Yeah.
The puppet. His reality, everything that he did was so perfect. I mean, as a character, and the thing is, and here was the weird thing about it, is obviously Melissa McCarthy was a lunatic, right? And it worked for her character, and it worked for, I mean, and I love that they realized that they could give her character like some foibles, like,
right. Like she's into sugar.
Yeah, she's into sugar, right? And the thing with the transplant thing on her was hilarious. But the thing that's kind of cool is that the puppet guy that was the lead played it straight all the way through.
He was a great actor.
He was a great actor. I mean,
great expressions.
Great expressions, but he played it straight. I mean, it wasn't like...
Right, it wasn't corny.
It wasn't corny at all. I mean, the only laughs that he was kind of going for was, sort of like the joke stuff between him and whoever he was talking to and stuff. But, man, they did such a good job.
Well, he was the straight man for everybody in the movie.
He was the straight man.
Except for there was a scene that he was a little crazy on.
Yeah. Yeah, but he went so far out that absolutely I forgave him 100% because I was rolling. I could hardly even stay in my seat. I was laughing so hard.
I feel like I was laughing more at the beginning.
Of it?
Yeah, halfway through. No, the whole movie, like halfway through the movie. And then it kind of got more, I don't know, less puppety, I guess, at the end, if that makes any sense.
Did it? Well, yeah, but it was tying up the story at the end.
Right.
It's funny. This is interesting because it was sort of like the story came in to spoil things occasionally.
Well, how would Jim feel about this movie?
Jim?
Yeah, Brian's dad, Brian Henson.
Oh, he absolutely would have loved it.
What's funny?
I read an article about this.
Well, I read somewhere that it was like for decades they'd been talking about doing this, but I guess they never did because of the adult content. But I'm like, why not?
They're a close association with the
Sesame Street and PBS.
workshop and all the rest of that. And the thing is Disney has completely bought all that stuff out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not in their hands anymore.
This is a good time because I grew up watching Sesame Street and the Muppets. I mean, my family and I would watch the Muppets every week, and we would eat pizza. That would be our pizza night.
Yeah, exactly.
So I grew up watching the Muppets, and I watched the Muppet movies and all those things. And
so the great thing is that now we actually saw,
but there's no Muppets.
How the Muppets would do.
I'd almost rather
stuff.
see the Muppets actually doing stuff like this, like Kermit and Gonzo acting crazy. I don't know.
I
like the behind the scenes of the Muppets. That's a movie I want to see.
Yeah, but
since Disney owns them now,
it just
never happened.
I just love this. There was just I was just
you can't take this movie seriously.
No, you can't.
Because if you did, you'd probably rate it
but
like 1 or 2 stars probably out of 5.
I gotta tell you something. The Maya Rudolph role was great. I didn't particularly like who's it? Joel. Mikhail.
Oh yeah, the FBI guy.
Yeah, the FBI guy. Yeah, he didn't particularly impress me, but I did like the guy from The Office. He played it really well.
So what? This was Brian Henson's first Muppet movie since you can call it a Muppet movie.
Yeah.
Since Treasure Island.
Right.
Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah.
1996. It's taken him that long.
Yeah, it's been that long.
But I think that's great that he's finally arrived.
I read an article that said that he and his father had always talked about this, and that his father's sense of humor, the adult side of his humor was part of the thing that made the puppets, that made the Muppet movie and all the rest of those kind of have enough of an edge to actually be entertaining to adults.
Yeah.
And
my dad didn't care to take it. He was like, I'll take it in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And
well, most cartoons have little jokes for adults that you don't really get.
Right. I mean, exactly. But I respect Jim Henson for deciding finally to go out and copy the Feebles. And
well, he didn't copy the Feebles. He copied certain parts, I think.
Yeah.
Parts.
Well, there was one particular parts
that you can squeeze. So there were 100 I can't read my handwriting.
Okay.
125 puppets, and 40 of them were made just for this movie.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing. That's a lot of stuffing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff.
And how many were blown away for this movie? That's what I want to know.
One of my favorite scenes was there's a scene where there's a puppet that had his head blown off or whatever, and the cops were there. And one of the cops in the background was getting sick.
Yeah.
it was just fluff.
Yeah, I know. There was enough
bits of fluff on the wall and stuff.
Bits of stuff going on, and
but that was that little touch that made that scene all better.
Well, come on. One of the most amazing scenes was the whole adult bookstore thing. I mean, that was intense.
Well, there's also a scene in his office with his client that was pretty awesome.
Well, that was amazing. that right there, I think I was laughing so hard I might have missed most of it. I was
and just when you think it's done, there's a glass door.
Let's just put it this way: Silly String is never going to be the same to me again. Never.
There's actually stuff worth watching for the credits too, like the string.
Oh
thing.
yeah, so and you get
an idea how they did this.
You know, I had heard that there was one review that said that he thought that the Muppets didn't look real because the movements didn't seem right because they were slower, and I just didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. I mean, the Muppets obviously moved different, but they were puppets, Muppet puppets. Right. They were puppets, and the way that we were actually that they were second-class citizens was just hilarious. I mean, it was it just.
I feel like they could have done more with that. I mean, they hinted at it at the beginning. They didn't really do much about it.
Yeah.
Then they had dumb jokes through the whole thing, like, "Oh, puppets don't have brains."
Right. Well, yeah, but I think that they had to pick. There was so much stuff I just think that they did it really well, personally.
So the effects were, there wasn't CGI really?
Yeah. No.
I mean, that's what I liked. It was more like how his dad would have done it.
Right. Oh yeah.
Totally.
Most of the effects that you see is just composite removal of
the green screen
of the green screen and all the people, because you have Muppets walking fairly fairly correctly,
especially the detective.
And really good. Yeah. You see
his legs a lot. And when he's kicking somebody's ass, that was a good scene too.
It was just great. You know what? This one is going to have this episode is going to have that classic problem. We both really like this, and it's hard to say.
I guess the only thing I thought was I'm glad that there were a lot of gags, because I would have been bored completely otherwise. Because I was trying to follow the story, was just like, oh, it's just the same exact, like they just copied a story of another detective show.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think Melissa McCarthy really was that big of a character in this, like she is in most of her movies. She wasn't as big as she usually is.
Right.
So she was playing. She was playing the second star to the blue guy.
She was. Well, yeah, a puppet. She was playing second fiddle to a puppet.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is the puppet was carrying it pretty well. I mean, the puppet. Hey, listen. Here's the thing. The puppet had more of the emoting going on than she did. The puppet had
well, he was the tortured soul. For
sure. He had the better lines, and he had the better arc.
Yeah,
of his character and so forth. And the thing is he carried it off perfectly. I would say definitely go see this movie, and go see it,
especially if you grew up watching the Muppets.
Yeah, go see it for him.
Yeah. For Brian. But his next step should be a puppet horror movie.
Hello.
Hello.
Isn't there one being made right now? There is.
There's one that we know of. That's
the one that we know of is yeah.
It's not a big production, I don't think, but it's
the weird thing about that is how meta would this be? Is almost every horror film has got puppets in it. You just don't know it.
You're right. You're actually right about that. Yeah. There was a pig puppet in one of.
How many horror films have you seen credits at the end that didn't have a puppeteer in it somewhere? All right. I feel like NBC right here.
But I'm
more
worried.
You know.
If I was an actor, if I was a Screen Actors Guild, I'd be a little nervous right now because all these puppets are going to take my job.
That's right.
But puppets.
CGP.
It's time for puppets to come in.
Computer generated puppets. CGP.
If they get hurt on the set, all I gotta do is sew them back together.
Well, exactly right. The problem with a puppet though is that there's probably 3 or 4 actual people behind it.
Right.
Behind that puppet, making it work, and then there's another 8 people that built that puppet and did the wardrobe for the puppet and did the doubles of the puppet and then the stunt puppet.
Sometimes it takes more than one person to operate the puppet, like for sure.
Puppet craft services.
I hate to be a stunt puppet. That'd be
right.
like the worst job.
That'd be the worst job either.
Right.
Keep your stuffing, man. Oh yeah. I have to go pick up my stuffing and everything. It's like
catering must be cheap though.
Yeah. No, it's not. There's 8 people behind the puppet.
Oh, I guess so. So I know I was never really. I honestly have to say, since I was such a Jim Henson fan and I love the Muppets,
right?
I was kind of disappointed with Brian sometimes, and like how he did Kermit, and like how he tried to do some TV shows with Muppets, and I just don't think he really hit the right spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
right.
He didn't have the magic that his dad did.
Right. But I think he's hit his stride.
I think
here.
he's kind of So I think he's going the right direction.
Oh, I think this absolutely.
I don't know what else he's done. Has he done anything else in between 96 and now? That's all I'm talking about right now.
Are you kidding? He's
yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
He's Dinosaur Train. So my daughter watches that. So.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's done a lot of kid stuff.
Sid the Science Kid.
So that's interesting that he's doing kid stuff, but he manages to sneak in an adult-oriented.
The
times have changed.
That's what happens when Disney breaks away all of your all of your toys and runs all of your characters and goes somewhere else. You can just knock yourself crazy. Just knock yourself crazy. Can I just say that maybe you wouldn't want to take your kids to see this puppet movie?
Probably not. You don't want your kid stuck on sugar, right?
Yeah. Right. Yike. Yeah, and moo. Oh, utterly ridiculous. If Brian Henson hasn't seen Meet the Feebles, come on.
He's not really a puppeteer.
Yeah, how many times do you think he's seen it? He probably has a copy you can actually see.
Probably.
Right.
I want to borrow.
I want a better copy.
Can I borrow that copy?
I want a much better copy. There are. Did I tell you there are people, and I find this fascinating. There are people that have actually gone to the terrible copies of Meet the Feebles, and they're restoring it. They're creating.
I think you sent me a link to a YouTube video about that.
That are restoring it, frame by frame, which
is dedication.
Like, yeah, that's awesome.
I have a question for set design.
Yes.
When you're doing a Muppet-related movie that has live-action people in it,
yes,
you have to worry about set design for live action. At the same time, you have to worry about mats and trying to overlay everything. How would you? I don't know how you'd even go about that.
What do you mean?
How would you do set design for Muppets? Is what I'm trying to say.
All
with the live actions.
mats and well, the thing is obviously we didn't have the setups. The obvious setups for Muppets,
right? Because
Muppets are always based. The set is always based actually on where they've got blinds for all the operators, right? This is a
like
case
tables and stuff,
right? Exactly. Yeah. This is a case where it's not necessary. I mean, they're removing all the operators, so it was a lot easier. I'm quite sure. In this case, you would have a lot of doubles for silly string
right
situations, and to a certain extent, that was really interesting. Like, for instance, I'll give you a perfect example of it. The airport scene where she is standing
there. Yeah.
Standing there. I mean,
out in the open.
Out in the open.
You wouldn't see the Muppets.
Not only in the open, but just fantastically backlit all the way around. And you have to say to yourself, that there were probably several lighting challenges in that, because shadows would have been a complete nightmare. So trying to do that scene. I mean, when we walked in on that scene, I thought to myself, wow, this must have been a lot of work. Very carefully choreographed.
And then she was walking to the plane too at one time.
Right. But even
quick shot, but that would be easier probably.
Yeah, but that would be easier. I mean, that's movement, and I mean, just with her standing there and them having dialogue. I got to remember, there's the three of them in that room that is basically glass in the complete round. Boy,
that was a nice shot too when they
walked
in on her.
Yeah, you know what? And it almost was a nice enough shot to say that they knew that they needed to throw a couple of shots that you never would have seen with a puppet, right?
Yeah, of course.
And they really worked on that, because like there was that one. There were a couple of scenes that were just so non-puppet
where he
related.
was beating up the guy. That was totally like you wouldn't see that.
Right, exactly. And
from a low angle.
Yeah, and also when he's lifting his leg and stuff and trying to get the power behind that.
Right.
That would have been fairly difficult. They would have had iron hands. Yeah.
But my favorite set was definitely the adult bookstore.
It was just amazing. Yeah, the adult bookstore was great. Yeah.
So, what would you rate it?
What would I rate it? Oh man, I absolutely loved it. I mean, 3.9.
I want to take some points off Meet the Feebles and give this one more points.
Yeah. Go back.
Bad taste. We just did bad taste.
We just did bad taste.
This is light years ahead of bad taste.
Right. Yeah. And Meet the Feebles is light years ahead of bad taste, and then this is
I was thinking like initially 3.5, but then I'm thinking I really liked some.
I mean, except for the fact that the story was
that's
kind
what told me back to the story.
But otherwise, I would be rocketing into the fours. I mean,
if the story was really fast, if the story alone was amazing, then I'd probably rate it 4 or 5.
You know what though, and I have to say this to a certain extent.
So it's a character piece, is what you're saying. So the story doesn't really matter.
It is a character piece. Yeah. It's about him. It's about that puppet. It's about that puppet, and it's about his character arc. It almost needs that skeletal story to get out of the way to tell all these jokes.
Right.
You know, because it almost had as many jokes as like the original Airplane. You know, it just tied them into the little story they had, and and the concept overall better.
Yeah.
You know, and and I think it did a great job of it. You know, it wasn't Einstein.
No.
You know,
it wasn't meant to be.
No, it wasn't.
I think I'm between 3.5 and 3.9. I'll just give it 3.8.
Yeah.
Okay. I really enjoyed it watching it.
Yeah, because, you know, to a certain extent.
And it was my first AMC that I got the AMC pass.
Yay!
So this is my first movie I saw on the AMC pass.
Oh, and by the way, hey, Movie Pass, you suck.
Yeah, fuck you, Movie Pass.
Movie Pass said all day today. Movie Pass said, hey, yeah, you can go in there for free. And by the way, I've gotten the AMC pass, and I already
used up your 3.
Used my 3 before we got to the theater. Of course. So I was depending on my Movie Pass, and my Movie Pass all day said that no problem, this one's open and you can.
And then they all disappeared.
And then they all just disappeared.
There's nothing available because I looked before we left and there was nothing.
So here's what I have to say.
It's weird.
Movie Pass
is dead.
Sucks.
So can I say I canceled my Movie Pass, and I don't remember when I signed up, but my last day.
Yeah,
it's 9/11. Yeah, which says a lot about Movie Pass.
It does. It's going down. It's going out. Hey, listen, you want to hear something interesting? My book.
Yes.
It's
finally
it's finally there. You can
no more edits allowed.
Tomorrow you will be.
So I'm going to circle all the mistakes that you made, and I'm going to give you a copy.
Oh, please do. Please do. No, and by the way, I have no mistakes, and I make no apologies for having made mistakes. You know, it's my first book,
right.
And besides, I don't care anyway.
Oh damn, I won't bother.
You know what? If you circle a mistake and you say, "What, you didn't get the idea?"
See, I meant to I haven't had a lot of time to read it, but I'm through. I think I'm into chapter 6 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what have you thought so far?
I thought actually the junkyard thing was really intriguing. The whole junkyard chapter was awesome.
Right. It's really good.
I mean, the whole thing so far is good.
And you read Peter's.
Yes.
Peter's interview was
Peters was like my favorite so far.
It was amazing, right?
Yeah. He sounds like he's a really cool guy. Especially like how he's getting pissed off at the toll road. Like that was my favorite.
It's funny because I told Peter, I said, listen, you know what? I'm going to leave. I've got to leave all the toll booth stuff in. And it's amazing how many he goes through, right? He's like in this one interview. I mean, it was an hour and a half. I had to edit it down some, but it was an hour and a half of a trip, and he goes through 4 of them, right? And every toll booth for Peter is just a mind screw experience. You know, it's Peter is the worst driver ever. He really is. He has always driven really, really, really nice cars really, really bad.
I just picture a guy like fumbling for change, like
That's exactly him. That's Peter. He's just a funny guy. So
and then the guy that got fired, the guy that you fired for asking for a cable or something.
Oh, Hammond. Oh. Yeah. He is
the fact that his voice was there, like, "Hey, yeah, that's the day you fired me."
See, you keep getting. It's great because he's the one that says it in the interview.
That's what's awesome about it. So that's what's good about the book. It has like all these different points of views, and you let them tell their story.
I let them tell their stories, and the thing is, I also let them step over each other per story.
Right.
Like you'll hear several different views of the same story, which is really, really funny. Because wait until you hear some of the you haven't gotten to the beach one yet, right?
No.
Okay. The Tuesday night one has a couple of really funny stories from Charlie Blardinelli. He's very, very funny. About Peter out on a boat and so, oh God, yeah, and trying to blow himself to pieces. And,
oh jeez.
Yeah, funny, great stuff. You will love this book. So here's what you got to do: go to Behind the Screams book. .com and you can buy the book. You can buy a PDF of it. I think the PDF was $15, and you can buy a book for $25, and I'll sign it for $5. And
nice.
And we'll get them. We will get them out. The books themselves are going to be at my house on Monday of next week, and so they will be out. So you could have a book in your hot little sweaty disgusting. You could have 100 books.
I mean, Halloween's coming up, so
that's right.
Give everybody Halloween presents.
Coming up. Halloween is coming up.
Right.
So
everybody needs this.
Yeah, everybody needs this book.
Any self-respecting horror fan for sure needs this book.
That's really and if you're a Nightmare fan.
If you're a Nightmare fan, there's no excuse.
Yeah, there's no excuse for it. Yeah, And this will be the first book that is out that was written by somebody that was not a scholar, but somebody that was actually there. And I might add this, that an awful lot of the people that are in this book, I only knew about because I worked on the film. So you haven't seen them before. You haven't known about them before, and they'll tell different stories and blah-de, 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 blah.
Wow, that was very insightful.
Yeah, did you like that? Yeah, that was. So, have we?
I think we're done.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
Bye.
This is Kurt Thomas along with Mick Strawn. Thank you for listening to the Dream Warrior Review. If you have any questions or just have feedback for our show, we welcome them at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com. Of course, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter as well. As always, please follow us and tell your friends about us too.